Hello and welcome to episode 29 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K playthrough here. Cycle 55, Day 6, 2.7 days before we have the start of a bad tide. I want to address something right off the bat, and that was something that was a little bit of a topic of discussion in last episode's comments. So, episode 27, as I have verified independently, did end with us part way through a drought. We had about 10.9 days left when that episode ended, but episode 28 started with over 12 days, almost 13 of a bad tide remaining. Well, how could that have possibly happened? You asked, I asked, and then I went and did research. It turns out that the moddable weather mod, which I had installed for a few of the colony submission videos, and was also testing in some other stuff not related to this playthrough, actually changes what season you're in depending on if it is installed or not, or it has in this instance and a couple others. So that's what happened, is I disabled that because I was no longer doing the video on that colony that was using it, and then it just decided, okay, this is a bad tide now, which, sure, alright, neat, thanks, I guess, but I'm not going to be upset about it because, one, bad tide is harder than drought, theoretically. And it was a longer duration, so I don't think that it has materially affected the playthrough in a way that really warrants discussion. But I just figured you guys would probably want to know what the heck happened there, because I saw those comments and I said, well, there's no possible way that can be right. And then I looked at it like, okay, all right, that was weird. Next thing we want to discuss. I'm sorry to just get right off the bat into all this deep stuff here, but get it deep because there's a reservoir. There's been a couple people saying we're going to have a lot of problems with bad tides and overflowing because of the way this has been constructed, and I am here to say I tested this. The start of a bad tide is not an issue. What's an issue with overflowing is the start of a temperate cycle, because this ends up overflowing off the side here before it fills up the reservoir. But because it's clean water, right now it's not a deal breaker. I'm not feeling like it's necessary to go ahead and demolish this and rebuild it immediately. We probably will at some point. Not right now. But the bad tide stuff does start just fine. It does not overflow bad water into here in any meaningful amount. There might be like a little bit of a trace of the slight discoloration right here at the end and maybe here in the corner, but it ends up not being a problem because this reservoir gets pumped out with 12 of these pumps completed, which are not currently done, but in my testing, 12 of the pumps completed evacuate the entirety of this reservoir with, I don't know, like less than a quote-unquote week left in the bad tide that I got in the testing I did right before I hit record, and then any bad water just evaporates. So it's not an issue in a way that's going to actually affect the beavers negatively, but I'm willing to concede that this was probably not the best choice for design. And the outflow here, of course, is exactly perfect to keep this from overflowing, so we're good there. And I think, at the very least, we can appreciate that. We have 2,600 water going into this bad tide. They're still building the rest of these pumps like we talked about last time. And I did say we're going to prioritize these by haulers, so let's go ahead and get that ticked. And then we're going to move on to the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which I've decided in the wake of the whole, hey, the last episode was an hour-and-a-half thing, and I know some of you like it, some of you really don't. I'm going to try to keep this focused, do a single main project, and if we can get that done in a reasonable amount of time, then we'll hit more. But the middle of this map here is begging for a resolution from the very beginning when I decided I was going to try and figure out what was going to go here in the height, specifically with foresters for growing stuff. So there we go. Reset the brain, reset the mouth, try again. Here's what's going to go down here. We have this space in the middle. This is our 2x1 support on this side, 2x1, 2x1, and then 2x1 here. This space in the middle of all of this does still have to have pillars for support, and it's kind of a mess down here because we haven't messed with this quadrant yet. We haven't messed with this one very much. But what I can tell you is that this right here, just so we have good visual contrast, is what currently the middle of this is going to look like. We have 4 tiles across on this side, then an inset 1, same so on and so forth. And then when we get around to this side, that is what that's going to end up looking like as well. We see the actual perfect middle more or less right about here. See that 25, 25, 24, 24. It's right about this spot. So we're going to have 4 on a side, 1 jog, 4 on a side, 1 jog, so on and so forth. And I thought lot of different ideas on this, but I think what's going to work the best going up all the way to the top is if we just square this off so that there's none of this mess right here. We just end up having 8 by 8 in the center. What that would allow us to do, just for the purpose of illustration, we could fit, and it's not going to look perfect with this, but we could fit a 3 by 3, just pretend it's in the right spot, 3 by 3 here, 3 by 3 here, and in the middle we have a 2 wide space and like a plus sign. So we would have 4, 1 in each corner, 1, 2, 3, 4 on each level going up, and then in the middle we would have enough space to utilize vertical tubeways and power shafts. Would we need to have power going to every single level of this? Probably not. Could we also use these large row houses for more or less the same effect? Yes, we could. Will we end up using large row houses for part of this? Most likely. But I know for sure what I would like to do is just clip the rest of this out, these corners here, and then just have stacks of these large tanks and use vertical tubeways at least once or twice. Probably here and then here, just to keep it roughly kind of radial symmetry adjacent. And then fill in the rest, at least one of them with a power shaft, and then the others could be those large row houses. I think that would look pretty good. Unfortunately, the other thing that has happened is because of the need to construct the reservoir, we had to remove a bunch of these tubeway cranes, and that is going to cause issues here. However, we also have access with this tubeway station to the area directly above all of these pieces of land. So, what's going to make sense, I think, is for us to just slowly get all of this removed in these exact spots here. We can peel this back very easily. Again, just those 6, and they will get to them when they get to them. Make it nice and symmetrical, because we all love to see that. This will, of course, have to be demolished and then used for explosions, but we have plenty of time, don't we? So much time, so much time, so much room for activities, infinite resources, so on and so forth. That, of course, will have to wait. And then we get down to the very bottom of the map. This is the lowest possible level. Let's identify which tiles this is. 21, 27. Come down here. This is going to be the corner of where we start putting our tanks. And yes, we have trees growing here. So what's going to happen is this space 8 by 8 will get cleaned out, and then we will have to figure out what else we're doing to support from the bottom. But since we know that, well, at least the idea that I had was to put in tank here and then have some sort of structure on top of it, so on and so forth, that is going to be what has to happen. Now, these are not very easy to stack if you don't have a good setup for it. So I figured it would probably be prudent for us to do a little bit of experimentation here. I'm going to hit pause. We're going to lose the background music. I know that's probably going to drive... Actually, no, it came back. We just lost the sounds. But if you take a triple platform... have to go up a couple more levels. Triple platform here is about the same height. I know it's really hard to see, but I have to be able to see the top of the platform too. Triple platform is about the same height as the top of the tank, and then at that point we can take our 4x1 overhangs and do that. The last time I tried this, the double platform with the thing on top of it did not work. Watch me be absolutely humiliated here. Okay, yep, there you go. All right. Yeah, okay. Cool. Thanks. Well, regardless, that's what we're going to have to do all the way up this joint, the entire way. Just stack it up, layer it on me. It's fine. It's fine. This is for the betterment of everything that it gets done this way. It's okay. It doesn't hurt my pride. Not that much. But you see what I'm getting at here. And what that's going to allow us to do is still have access to everything. But it is going to complicate things just a tiny bit, because I did want to put these housing units here. And these regular row houses are 3 units tall. The large ones are 4 units tall. And I cannot build on top of these without removing a layer from what we're trying to get at here. So, again, with this paused, just bear with me here. Let's try and figure out how many of these we could actually put in. I know, here we go with the math, before we get to the very top of the map. So, assuming every 3 layers is actually fine, so then that would give us here, 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 here. What we can actually do is substitute these with just triple platforms, because we know that's going to work. That would be 1 layer, that would be 2, that would give us 3, that gives us 4, that gives us 5, that gives us 6, that gives us 7, that gives us 8, and then we get up right underneath this. That would be 9 to here, which is 1 level below the top of the reservoir. Why does that work? That shouldn't be working at all. I have several questions. But sure, okay. 10, 11, and then I cannot build a 12 on top of that, even a tiny bit. So let's call it 11 because the building has to be able to actually be built. That times 4 is, I know, really challenging math here, folks. 44 large water tanks. Now, bear with me here. If we take a look at the math that was done for us several episodes ago, we have to have 54 large tanks to hold enough drinking water to supply 1,000 beavers for 30 days, more or less. 44 tanks right here in the middle is pretty stinking good. We can find space to put 10 other tanks elsewhere. I think we're going to go with that. I do really like that idea, and I'm glad I was able to hopefully make this point in a way that is not going to be confusing. But I digress. They can start building this, and we, of course, can continue doing the rest of all this nonsense. I just have to figure out how I am going to approach the housing issue, because I was kind of hoping I could put some in here. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to figure out where the rest of this stuff is going to go. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause the construction of the large tank, because we might want to flip orientation. We might be able to save this. We might be able to save this. We'll see. For right now, I just want to be able to explode all of these. And then, obviously, some of these are going to come in sooner, later than others. Make sure that this is adequate here. I mean, we only have 85 beavers right now, because we did have the issues with these things surging, so on and so forth, and food and water. You watched the episodes. You know, if you didn't watch the episodes, why are you here? This episode of, what, 29? You missed a whole lot, but, like, hey, I don't know. Sometimes people come in the middle of a series. Point being, I think we're in a better spot than I originally thought, and some of you believe. So, again, just trust the process. Gonna be alright. We'll get there. I know the terraforming here still has a lot that has to get done, and part of the reason it hadn't been done was because we just didn't have the time necessary to, you know, actually do it in an episode and not be, you know, a billion hours long. I know last episode was super long. Some of you don't really care for that. So I will try to be a little bit more respectful of your time with this one. But yeah, anyway, Bad Tide coming in. You see how like, immediately that just went away? And it's all coming out here? No problems. Absolutely none. Now when this refills, it will splash and flood a little bit, but that's the way it goes. 28-day Bad Tide. We have 2,700 water here. And like I said, this amount of water in this reservoir is not going to last the entire time, but the way this is set up, things are going to be just fine. What I am going to do, because I did test this, and I noticed that it was going to run out, I'm going to turn off half of these pumps, because we already have 3,000 water, and the 6 that are pumping right now will make sure this doesn't become 0. I do still need to keep some crops irrigated. We can adjust later if it becomes an issue. I just don't want to have to, you know, micromanage this the whole time. More explosions. Oh, I did this one incorrectly. And I managed to miss that one entirely. Okay, well, I'm glad that got caught. Let's fix that. Well, okay, well, this one does actually need to go away as well. Let's just keep ourselves honest here, because that's 4 there. Yep, okay. This can get exploded, though. Boom. And then so can this. See, I end up, you know, kind of getting myself in trouble with some of these scenarios where I don't fully understand what it is that I'm doing, and then bad things happen. You know how it goes. You just have to have this set in the right spot. So the district center also is going to be part of this, and I haven't quite decided where that's going to go. One, because it is a 3x3 building, and this hole in the middle is going to be 8x8. That is going to make it a little bit more complicated to see what's going to have to fit where. But we will find a place for the district center. When it has to move, it will move. And at no point sooner than that will I attempt to inflict that amount of grief upon myself making that choice. So that will help us out substantially here. This gets blown up. And then we can move on with our lives. We also have space here that is currently being occupied that I had originally wanted to include in the middle of this. We're going to have to move all that. Food storage is another part of that mess. But I do think the core of this being the water storage is going to be the smarter way to go. So now that we have this forester in the middle here, we do need to talk about what... well, this forester's been here forever. We need to talk about what we're doing with this. I think the bottom level may need to be slightly modified relative to where the rest of it is going to be. This is a 2x2 building, and we did say we wanted to have 2x2 buildings, or at least space for 2 wide buildings here in the middle. It's going to depend on what we are doing where. Let's pause this because we have daylight. Come all the way down. Again, 8x8 goes roughly this space. This has not been removed. It will be removed. We have an option. This double platform here obviously has to be to support the tanks. I think I want to rotate these tanks 90 degrees this way so we can use pathing underneath these platforms and minimize disruption. What that's going to mean is that we will now have access in this 2x8 space right here, whenever we actually get stuff, you know, set up correctly. 2x8 space to put other stuff in. This forester can go away. Everything that is planted right now is fine, and we have plenty of wood, and this is also almost full storage. So let's prototype this here. Not that one. Forester can be set up facing this way, can be set up facing this way, can be set up facing any number of ways. If it's right here in this exact spot, it can reach anywhere that a tree will be planted in the bottom of this map. And judging by the growth patterns and the harvesting speed and all that, I don't think we're going to need more than one. So I think what I'd like to do is have this set up in harmony with the tubeways and the power shaft I'm going to have going up and down, just in case we want to plug something up into it. But we have some options. So like I said, that is a spot it could go. Just for the purpose of illustration, this obviously can't go here because the clearance is not there vertically. But this is what we're working with. This is going to be platforms. This is going to be platforms. This and this are also going to be platforms, and this is going to be tanks, tanks, tanks. So in this space, this space, this space, this space, we have room to put items. I'm going to take these two back out because now that we've identified that's what that is. If I leave this forester right here, because it currently can exist there, it has to have an output to a path. This would be a path. This would be connected here, and then this would be connected here. This would also be a path, but I can't currently build there. So if we want to connect to the forester, currently the doorway is here. This would be very easy to do that, and I think that would be totally fine. We then have a space here, right here, kind of in the center of the map, just about, where we could put a tiny tubeway station, which I would probably honestly orient this way so it's closer path to these two tanks. But at that point, we could easily go all the way up, and because of the way that this is set up, it wouldn't be that hard to just have additional platforms right here in front of it, set up every 3, just regular triple platforms, pretty cheap, and then come up right here, every 3, so on and so forth. So that's what that would end up looking like, and that would take up this entire vertical space here. This forester requires 4 tall complete spaces. But above that, we can put anything else we want. This is where this comes in. If I take a double platform here, I'm just trying to think on my feet. Yeah, that there, and then this here. Now we've capped it, and on top of this can go something else. Because of the way this is set up, we could also, this is where this gets dumb, but we can turn the tiny tubeway station here, and then, guess what, folks? Large row house goes right into the tiny tubeway station. And what goes here? Another large row house. And what goes here? Stop me if you've heard this before. Another tiny two-way station. That's right, no paths for any amount of beaver travel whatsoever. And what goes on top of the tiny two-way station? A triple platform. What goes on top of this? More of these guys. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I love that so much. I can't stop smiling. But yeah, this is diabolical. I can't believe this game allows me to do this. But that solves our problem of where's the forester go? And it solves our problem of where do the row houses go? And it solves the problem of where do the tanks go? And it solves the problem of how do you access all of this at once? Which, yes, we do need to, make sure this is all set up in a way that everything can reach everything else. But boy, oh boy, am I just elated by this. If you couldn't tell. Like, look, just look at this. Look at this. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it glorious? Isn't it the best thing you've ever seen? Oh, also, guess what? We can use these spaces here to put decorations. I can't believe this is legal. I can't believe this is legal. Okay. For that purpose, I'm going to end up building this section out probably last. But I really, really wanted to make sure I took at least a little bit of this video to have this completely on pause so we could work this out and see what's going to actually make sense. But I love it when this happens. Oh boy. So, yeah. I'm having too much fun with this. The police are going to be at my door any moment now. But I think this is going to work. I think it's going to work fantastically, folks. Oh, I'm so excited. And guess what? We've got more space over here to keep doing this. So, these large row houses sleep 8. The 3 tall sleep 5. So, if you want to be real pedantic about it, you take, okay, the 12 tall sleeps a total of 24. And then if you did in the same amount of height, these guys here, pretend that this is the same because I guess it actually is. 4 of these, 4 times 5 is 20, last time I checked. So, this is actually more efficient. I know someone was going to ask about that. Also, watch that math be completely wrong. Look, I took music major math 14 years ago. It's safe and fair to, question my numbers here, but it works. Yay. Okay, we got to move on. Triple speed time. But, yeah. I am unreasonably excited by this. And I just wanted to apologize for that. But I'm having so much fun with this, I can't believe it. Anyway, that's going to connect up here. Directly into this reservoir. Remember, the reservoir is going to go all the way around all 4 sides here. And the corners of the maps aren't really irrigated that well with this. We do have a decent number of spaces that are not irrigated at all. By my count, that's like, I don't know, 15, 16. I don't think it's going to matter, though. I think it's probably okay. Not really an appreciable difference here to here level-wise in terms of irrigation, nor down here, so I don't think these missing bits matter. But man, don't you love it when a plan comes together? I kind of want to, oh man, Sim Tower. Probably none of you have played that game, but it was Maxis, EA, later acquired them. Maxis, the people that made SimCity and The Sims and SimCopter, that wonderful, beautiful mess of a disaster game, made... Well, I shouldn't say made. They licensed a Japanese game, I believe called Ute Tower, in the 90s. But anyway, if you ever played Sim Tower or Ute Tower or whatever, at the very top of your tower, you had the option of... See if I can try to find like a screenshot of this. But you had the option to build a cathedral on the top of your tower, on the 100th floor, or whatever floor it was that it would allow you to build that on. And I just had the idea that what if we put our district center at the very top of the center as close as we can get with these platforms here, based on what we learned before about we're not going to be able to have more than 11 of these tanks stacked on top of each other before we get to the build limit. I think that might be kind of fun, don't you? I think it would be neat. So, you know, just food for thought. I also just had another thought, speaking of food for thought. The tubeways are also supposed to be able to access all of these levels, and this has kind of taken over my brain in a way that I hadn't anticipated. We're going to have to reconsider how this is set up. But I need to be able to get to all of the terrain here. Remember, there's going to be terrain coming out here. That means we have to line up the platforms with the terrain. And we don't have to adjust the spacing of this stuff, but we do have to line up the platforms with the terrain. So before we get too crazy here, let's just slightly reconfigure this. This is going to affect this mess also. But I know if I built this entire stack without doing that, then you guys would never let me live it down. But I digress. This will just end up becoming single levels the whole time. The idea, of course, being that this path could connect to here, which now means that this gets a little bit more complicated as well. And that also means this has to have most likely... Well, there's your problem. These won't always line up like this. But this specific instance does. Okay, so new plan. This level gets to be that way, and then also that way. Is this overkill with the amount of gears and all this we're going to use? Yeah, it's kind of, honestly, kind of stupid, but it's going to work just fine. Just trust the process. We've been through this. So now let's get this reconfigured. I'm so sorry to those of you who were enjoying the fast pace of earlier, and now we've kind of slowed to a crawl because I had to make choices. That's going to connect there, and then this next level... See, I told you this wasn't going to line up. The next level has to go in like this. Why can't I click? Thank you. That'll go there. This will allow us to get out to this level, and then we'll probably end up going that way as well, but we're building this in chunks, remember? This one goes in here. Same kind of deal. This doesn't have to have this intermediary level here, but out of respect for what we may end up doing on this other side, I'm just going to put these here anyway. Just try to keep this as dumb-free as possible. So that will go there. That means this one will be another one of those examples where this is fine going this way, and then we'll have another one right on top of it. I promise the hamsters are running as hard as they can. just bear with me here. Bear with me here. That'll come out to there. Okay, well, I may have to time-lapse this at some point. I want them to build something. So, yeah, that's the thought process I came to. I hope you can like it. If not, then do me a solid and just pretend. Because that's I don't think we're going to come up with a better solution than that. And if you have one, let me know. But I think we're just going to end up doing that. So, 24 days left in the bad tide. There's still plenty of stuff to do. Let's not get it twisted. That's not a one-size-fits-all solution for everything. But that is really, really, really going to help. What we need to do now is we need to make sure... These coffee bushes are all dried out, huh? That's all the coffee bushes dead? Okay, well, they will spread eventually. I don't think the dead bushes being in the way will prevent that. If they do, then that will be a problem, I guess, for us to solve at some other point in time. But I will just take those two out so they can start spreading normally either way. This is going to have to get replanted, but guess what? I took out the forester, except we built it, but it's not connected. Let's just let's just fix that. Dead trees not marked for cutting. Get that going again. I know we have to fix all this. We're gonna get there, but I do have to remove all of this first before we can get to that point. And then all of this as well. Look, it's a lot. It's complicated. It's been a journey. We've attempted, and I do mean attempted, to get this taken care of, but it just you know, takes time. So, I'm not really sure how to solve the problems of constructing the rest of this without putting in more of these tubeways, because I don't really have a great way to get above here, unless, and I know this is kind of stretching the limits of common sense here, but if I were to do this exact thing again from this side, I think we might have a chance of having some success with that. Is that going to have one block that way? I think it will. I'm not going to bother putting two ways here. That is just, that's going to be unnecessarily complex and expensive for what is essentially just going to be a quick fix thing. So that will get brought out to here. And then I'll just pop in regular stairs. No need to make this a, you know, Herculean endeavor. They just need to be able to build, and that's going to help them do it. I know this is not the most optimal way of making that happen, but that is the way this goes. So let's take a moment here and go ahead and start time-lapsing this, because I'm going to put in all of these levels here. If I talk while I'm doing it, I'm going to make mistakes. So I'm just going to, you know, take the time now to get that laid out. Even if they don't, you know, build it immediately, I need to make sure that this is done right in a way where I'm going to be minimally distracted at least one corner so I can just duplicate it later. But we'll just get that finished right quick here. I don't think it's going to be super long, and we'll be right back. All right, so let's talk about what just happened there, because I'm sure some of you are going, well, what was that? So what happened was I realized partway through building this, it was dumb to just skip levels with these tiny tubeway stations when I could just make this entire column tiny tubeway stations either going into this building or out to the path, and then on levels where it had to go into the building, I could just put another one on the same level to give access to that other path, whether or not it was an entrance to a tank. So in this way, I have guaranteed access to every single level of the map with the same two-way section without having to build some other column somewhere else. Now, this is also going to have to get entrances built into it that we will do at a later point in time, because this kind of broke my brain a little bit. But this is ready to go. It's looking fine. I also want to go ahead and pause the rest of these pumps. I know this is not going to be a popular decision, but the reason being is we only have a little bit less than 2 tiles high worth of water, and this is also currently irrigating basically the entire map. And we aren't prepared to, you know, solve that problem by other means at this exact moment in time. So that is why that's being addressed that way. I did add at the very, very top of this thing here another access to this, so that could be connected. But now we're in a situation where this just has to get built. It will just take time. And we're going to need to make some more materials for it, specifically gears. That's going to be the main issue. Metal, obviously, is a problem, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. The gear production we have is woefully insufficient, and we only have 2 of these guys up here, and then one of them down here because we haven't started completely removing this mess yet. It will have to happen soon. I know I've been saying for a bunch of episodes, I'm going to take this down and redo it. I think at this point now it's too late to try and do it in this episode. And I guess I shouldn't promise next episode either, but it will be on the list very soon. But what we need to do is make some more gears. This is not the most optimal place for another gear thing to go, but we have to have more gears. Every 3 hours, this makes a single gear. Each one of those tubeway stations takes 5. So currently, with just those 3 there, it would take us like, what, 5.5 hours to make enough gears for a single tubeway station? No. That's not going to work. The vertical tubeways and the regular tubeways don't require any gears, but it just makes sense to have more gears. So now that we have 4 of these, or we will have 4 of them, every 3 hours we're making 4 gears. So instead of taking 5.5 hours to make enough for one tubeway station, it's going to take like, what, 4-ish, I think is what that ends up working out to. I don't know, math, again, don't trust me on that, but it's going to help, and that's what matters. Now we can turn our attention to a little bit more of this terraforming here. Obviously, this is not really an ideal situation with how this has been set up, but we do have access from the top for whatever that is worth, and that is just going to be how it has to go. So, at risk of, you know, causing additional problems by having stuff set up incorrectly, I think it is just going to be smart for us to do it this way. Of course, now I'm going to have to take these middle bits out because I had the arrows going the wrong way. You see why this stuff gets done in such a slow and frustrating manner? It's because it just takes time. So, you know how it goes. As long as it can actually get attached to something, I think it's going to be fine. But it is never a fast process. Never, ever, 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 ever a fast process. And that's why we just have to trust the process. Mom, help, he's mumbling again. Yes, I know. It's okay. It's going to be fine. Just take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. So now that this mess is progressing, I probably honestly should just time-lapse a lot of this. But now that this mess is progressing, we can hopefully still get everything popped in. I know because this isn't dirt here because of how I had to build this, there's going to be, you know, problems with this. But I think long-term it's going to be fine. I just have to be able to, you know, actually build stuff here. It's going to be a challenge. But I don't think it's going to be impossible. Just have to do it. Nobody else on YouTube is insane enough to do my videos this way, which is probably an indictment of my thought process, but you come for the unique stuff, you're going to get it. Of course, all of these are not hooked up to paths because at the very bottom I neglected to... Wait, no, they're totally connected. Oh, no. Oh, okay, I'm not ripping this out. I'm absolutely not ripping this out because the very bottom 3 aren't taken care of. But they don't have a reason to get over here anyway, so I guess it's fine. Probably. Maybe. Yeah, it's fine. Triple speed. Hooray. Now I have to scroll this back up to see what the rest of my notes were. Let's see, we talked about the positioning of the... Why can I not remember what this is called? District Center. We talked about the positioning of the tubeway, which we have already built. Power shaft is probably at this point going to have to go on this other side, which we will deal with at that point in time when we can actually do this. But I do want to have power shaft going all the way to the bottom. A couple of reasons. In the event that we do not need all of this terrain, which, let's be honest, we probably will never need even close to all of this terrain, we can still use some of it for recreational purposes. And what requires power for recreation with these guys? We've got mud baths, we've got motivatoriums, we've got wind tunnels. Now, of course, the wind tunnel is not going to fit basically anywhere in this stack for obvious reasons. The motivatorium, same deal, but the mud bath actually slides in quite nicely right here, and if we have stuff hooked up in a way that's going to make sense, then we can have the mud baths connected right next to these towers of beaver apartments and not even need power shafts to connect to them, as long as we connect to the top and the bottom of this. Or if we decide we actually need to have all of these row houses everywhere, then we can, you know, get to that when we get to that. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. I know that's probably not the best way to handle it, but that's how my brain works best. Notice I said best. I did not say works completely or correctly. It is the damage control method of thinking, I suppose. What are you talking about? I have no idea. Let's move on. Anyway. Probably going to have a lot of mud baths in here. We will need space. with terrain to put at least a few motivatoriums if we're going to try and have any amount of super high well-being, which I would like to. Not going to be super necessary, but I'd like to. We talked about swimming pools being something we could build in our reservoir. We talked about a whole bunch of different stuff. And now my mind has gone blank. This is what happens when I do a whole bunch of stuff in a day and I try to go record one of these videos. It just turns into an absolute slop fest. But we're still getting stuff done, so they're going to keep working on that. What are they waiting on? Oh. This has used an enormous quantity of planks. I only have these two. There's not even any beavers working in here. Okay, what? Okay, this still clearly has not cut up. Well, there's your problem. Let's see. How many of these are close to popping one out? Not too many. I don't want to have all these going at once, but we do need to have some more beavers. Because now this has become an issue. See, these are still going to take a couple days. I mean, I guess it's fine to just leave it like this. It's probably okay. But yeah, I need more beavers. I'm just going to do these 4 for right now. Just let them keep doing their thing. And we'll just have to come in here and deal with more terrain building. For whatever that is worth. Alright. I told you guys I was really going to try to avoid it, but I think I'm going to have to time-lapse again. Just because the terrain situation has gotten pretty out of hand over here, and we really need to fix it. So apologies, but it's going to be what's best. It doesn't mean it's going to be great, but it's going to let us take care of this, hopefully, once and for all, on this part of the map, and then we can start putting the farms and stuff back over here so we can finally start working on the other quadrants. The industrial thing is going to be a little bit probably harder to solve just because of everything else we have to move and all of the different storages we're going to have to build. But some of that stuff, I think, storage-wise, can be relocated to the top of one of the other quadrants. The third one that we have not yet built, that is not on top of industrial. And I think that's going to be easiest. We'll see. But for now, I'm just going to keep filling in this terrain, and hopefully we'll have that done before the end of the bad tide so I can show you guys what happens when that comes back on. Alright, cycle 56 begins. Let's come out of the time-lapse, and I'm going to show you what happens when the clean water comes back in here. It's going to fill up, and yes, it's going to overflow a lot, but it's okay because it's clean. And it's going to just come right out here, fill our reservoir back up, and everything's going to be just peachy. So let's turn these things back on. We didn't run out of water. Managed to time that quite nicely. And now, because we have all of these row houses in place, once they have all of the tubeway stations built, which I think we probably should go ahead and prioritize, we'll have good, easy access down into the center, and everything will be just fine. So, where does that leave us? I'm looking at OBS. It says an hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds, which I guess is a fun coincidence. But a decent bit of that's going to be taken away in terms of time-lapse condensing, so we got a little bit more time to take a look at what else we might be able to get accomplished here. This should be just about finished with its little overflowing party, and when that's done, we'll have a much clearer picture of the state of the terrain here. Come on. I just said something nice about you. There you go. Good job. So, we've managed to get most of the terrain in place up to the last level. There's just these filling in bits to do. Same kind of thing over here, but it gets a little bit more complicated because of the scaffolding we have in place. We can go ahead and get the rest of this popped in. And they will, at their convenience, deliver the rest of these things to the appropriate spot. Get this taken care of, and we will be able to remove most of the rest of this. Now that this fluid dump is kind of redundant. It's not completely redundant yet because we haven't finished the reservoir, but that's going to be able to be replaced with stuff. And we will finally have a bunch of space over here to build additional industrial capacity, or we can move our food storage, which is probably going to be one of the more important things to do. But this is space that did not exist before, and still does not currently exist, but next episode will exist, and we'll be able to make good use of it. And I did leave these other things turned on down here because I wanted to get our population up enough to actually, you know, take care of all of these jobs we're doing. But I think we can shut those back off now. Yes, I know this has flooded to some degree down here, but it's going to be fine. It will go away. And we have managed to grow one additional coffee bush, but these are repopulating without the help of the dead ones being removed, so that clearly does not need to be addressed anymore. We're just looking really, really good here. Everything is perfectly fine. Pay no attention to this mess right here. That'll be addressed at some point. But I think this is going to be a good point to go ahead and stop for today. Obviously, we'd love to have more water pumping occur. There'd be more stuff popped in here at such a time as it would become convenient. But you know what? I lied. we're gonna have to put in more of this stuff here just real quick. Just bear with me. I know we don't have currently a space to put additional pumps in these spots, so I will take these four out. So we'll only have another 4 of these tanks put in place. I think I can have this set up correctly. If we follow the pattern here, then this would be flipped, which works out perfectly to get that in place. And we can, instead of having the other stuff where, you know, it doesn't fit, pop an additional 4 here. Or by 4, I mean 3. Oh, math is hard. Been a very, very, very long trying day, folks, but we're here. Now, that's going to help a lot. Whether they build it or not is going to be a entirely different story. We only have 2 planks. We do have another one of these industrial lumber mills I can turn back on. And now we can actually go ahead and say goodbye. So I really appreciate you guys watching this series, giving helpful feedback, ideas, or calling me out when stuff goes poorly, because you know I have to have that kind of feedback, or I'm not going to figure it out unless something goes incredibly catastrophically wrong in real time. So I do always appreciate the warnings of, hey, this might happen, make sure you check on this, or have you considered doing this, or whatever, so on and so forth. You get the picture. Beard boosters make it possible, of course, keeping the channel sponsor free. Try to only, you know, accept money from people who are actually promoting games that we want to play, and not sell you frozen food or therapy or whatever that you can easily find somewhere else without having some random person on YouTube try and convince you to get it because it benefits them financially. I don't want to do that. So I do appreciate that support, keeping the channel free of all that stuff and making it possible to just focus on having fun with the beavers and not chase the algorithm every 5 seconds like has become so prevalent on all this other stuff. Just good, honest fun and a supportive and positive community whenever we can be, which I think we've done a pretty good job with. All that being said, it is time for this to end, so we will see you back in this series on Saturday, and of course Wednesday and Thursday with our flex days. If I can make the other videos happen with the colony reviews, and we absolutely will. If not, then, well, at least you're going to see me on Friday with the water beavers, and then, like I said, this series on Saturday. Take care, friends, whatever it is you're doing. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.